All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Montclair Planning Board. Notice of this meeting is published in the local paper and also posted in the lobby of this building. We are being broadcast live on Channel 34 and streamed live on montclair.peg.tv.peg or montclair.peg.tv.
Right. Or YouTube.
Or YouTube now, yes. We have a number of things on the agenda this evening. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding, and that means that we have powers resembling a court of law and must objectively determine facts and draw conclusions from them in order to provide a basis for action. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues of what the board must legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate for a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. The first thing on our agenda this evening is our roll call.
Chair Wynn?
Here.
Vice Chair Brodoff is excused. Mr. Schwartz?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Councilor Schlager?
Here.
Ms. Willis is excused. Mr. Rooney?
Here.
Mr. Ian Wally?
Here.
Ms. Lockman? Here. Mr. Barr is excused. And Mr. Gilmer?
Here.
Okay.
Okay, we have our minutes from our January 28th meeting.
I received comments. I just want to note for the board that I am like to put the links to our YouTube videos in our minutes so that they're easily accessible. And I received a couple of changes from Carmel. I don't know if there's any other changes.
I have one minor change on the first page. When you introduce Thomas Troutner, there's not usually a comma between.
Oh, you're right. Okay, got it. Any other changes? Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
February 11th minutes.
Again, I received changes to the minutes from Carmel. Are there any other changes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes from February 11th? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
And last but not least, February 25th.
I didn't receive any changes to the February 25th meeting. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
And Janice, just so I know, how long are the YouTube links good for? In perpetuity? We never really remove those 5, 6. Yeah.
I've been told.
They're good forever.
There we go. I
Thank
knew
you.
that question was going to come up. So.
At least for the foreseeable forever.
That's
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. We have a council referral.
So the council introduced an ordinance at the March 5th meeting, and at that meeting when the ordinance was introduced, they decided to refer this ordinance to the planning board. It involves a prohibition of left turns on Grove Street between Glenridge Avenue and Bloomfield Avenue. So I asked NV5 to prepare a report, since they're very familiar with all the traffic issues regarding that section of the road, and they're here tonight to perhaps give a brief summary of the recommendations. You've got Mike Danamiller from NV5 here.
I was sworn in during the Lackawanna project. Is that continued, or should I redo that?
Why don't we redo it?
We probably should redo it.
That's done and over with.
We hope.
You want me to do it? Sir, will you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm any testimony you give before this board? Is your mic on?
There we go. I think now it's on?
Yeah.
Do you swear or affirm any testimony you will give before this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I think so, swear.
Thank you.
Do I need to state my name?
If you want.
Michael Danamiller, Principal Engineer, NV5.
Good.
Same guys before. Did everybody get a copy of the whopping 2-page long letter? Okay, great. I think this is very clear. The proposed ordinance refers to Grove Street between Bloomfield Ave, Glenridge Ave. There are 2 driveways. What is proposed to be restricted is left turns from Grove into those driveways. The current condition in the southbound into the bank, into the TD Bank, is already restricted. So there's no change there. For the other turn, the northbound turn, from if you're northbound and you would be going left into the site development driveway. The potential conflict there, southbound on Grove, approaching Bloomfield, in the peak hour, about half the time there will be queuing. There will be stacked vehicles. So that will happen from time to time, as you'd expect in a moderately urbanized area. When that happens, okay, people shouldn't block the box, whether it's striped out as a box or not. But there would be potential conflict there, as was testified by the applicant and reiterated by us. The northbound move to that left turn would be accommodated in a 4-lane section. Right now it's unstriped, but basically there'd be left turn. The inner lanes in each direction would be dedicated for left turn. So there'd be a dedicated left and a through lane at that location. And the proposed queuing, and how many vehicles would stack up, is 1. There's room for about 7 vehicles before it backs up into Bloomfield Ave. So there should not be gridlock back to Bloomfield Ave, even if that 1 vehicle has to wait, or even if orders of magnitude more had to wait to turn into the site. So what we recommend is don't do this ordinance. Wait and see how it actually goes when constructed, observe, and if crash history or observation of queuing, gridlocking happens at that time, reconsider.
Questions?
Yes, I do have a question, but it's not about the turning into Lackawanna Plaza.
Mhm.
It's about turning into the bank.
Yep.
So as I looked at this, it strikes me that when you are coming southbound, and to get into the bank, you're saying you can't make a left-hand turn.
Correct. That's
Correct,
currently
already.
restricted and planned to
Right.
assume to continue to be
Yep.
restricted.
So how do you get into the bank? Because I understand if I go into and I make a left-hand turn to go east on Bloomfield Avenue, that I can't make a left-hand turn to get into the bank from Bloomfield Avenue. So I'd have to, I don't know what I got to do. I have to
You
go
got to
around.
go the other way around the block.
So got to do what? What do I have to do?
You have to turn at Glenridge
Yeah.
before you get.
You have to, but people have to know that. It just seems.
Yeah.
I think that's a mistake. People. I'm
You just
sorry.
got 3 points of
You can get it back
access.
from Glenridge Avenue.
Yeah, it's got access from Glenridge,
Yeah,
Bloomfield.
May or may not be.
Grove.
Also
But wait a
left
minute, just
turn.
let me, you're saying you have access, you're saying you go into the parking lot that's going to be part of the apartment building?
Right.
Yeah,
That's how
There
you
will
get
be.
now.
It's a
I
little
know,
bit
but right
circuitous,
now,
but I
there's no
think
big
that is
apartment building.
Connected.
So is that the intention, that we expect that people will go into what looks like a private lot
Well,
to
that
get
whole,
into the bank?
And that whole entrance with the redevelopment
Yeah.
is going to change.
I
Because right
understand
now,
that, yeah.
it's kind of awkward because you kind of have to like go back the opposite direction. But it's going to change. But currently, we're not being asked to consider undoing the restriction that's
No,
already exists there.
Right.
We're being asked to further the restriction so that it applies to the development on the west side
yeah.
of the street. I think personally, I think that the recommendation of our expert makes sense to build it out and see how it pans out. There should be enough room for queuing. It might be something where we actually need some formal striping.
But
or
once
something
again,
like
you're
that.
talking about making the left from going north.
Right. And then
just-
that other part about making the left when you're going south
Yep.
is going to have to be separately addressed by the council. And we might want to make a recommendation to the council that they, once it's built out, that they reconsider
Yeah,
that
doing-
restriction,
right, 'cause-
along with considering
Right.
the restriction on the other.
That would be my thought, because you really don't want these cars rambling around all over the neighborhood. I'm concerned
Right.
about them driving through the neighborhood.
Right.
Okay.
This
And
is more than you asked, but to interject on your part,
Mhm.
one of the things I really liked about the residents' side of that proposal was the fact it was connected. Because it's connected, you don't force everybody out onto the road, giving motorists those options,
Yeah.
which I thought was a good thing.
Yeah,
The,
yeah, I agree.
the problem, though, as Carmel pointed out, was that that's now going to look like an entrance into an apartment building,
Right.
living
Yeah, yeah.
area. And unless you're from around here, you're not going to know that it's connected,
Most of the
unless
people
there's
banking.
signage. And I don't think that the apartment building wants a sign.
Well, that was
for-
my next question. If
for
you're
the
going
bank
to,
at
if you're
the
going to do that,
driveway,
you're
but-
going to need signs telling people to go in that way.
I'm
But-
surprised the bank is okay with this, right? It's, it doesn't seem too customer-friendly,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so be it.
Well, and maybe they haven't considered all of the ramifications, but
Mhm.
I think it's better to consider it once it's built out.
Mhm.
Because nobody's going to be making a left anyway until it's turned, until it's
there.
built.
Until they make the curb
So
cut.
we certainly don't have a risk until that point. So if we put this on hold until then, I don't think we're risking too much.
Right.
So I have a question or two. Just want to clarify because of some of the public discussion that has floated around. Is it your opinion that all the safety considerations as it relates to cars and pedestrians have been addressed in this proposed left turn lane, and you feel comfortable with that in that location?
Yes.
Do you think that the planning has been professional and in accommodation with appropriate professional standards as to how it's been set up?
Yes.
And so you think the concerns that have been expressed by both the council and various individuals have been addressed in what is proposed at this time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You said you can't make a left turn in, it's restricted to get into the bank, but there's no sign there that says you can't go in. There's no sign on either side of the street. It's a one-way in, you can't get out, but you can go in, but nowhere around there.
Yeah, I believe it's a right in, right out. I'm not certain
out.
if that's a maintenance issue.
No,
I'd
It's
actually
one-
ask Janet.
it's one way.
It's almost
The-
like an exit
You're
ramp.
talking about the proposed one, right, or the existing one?
Existing.
Well, I think
For the bank.
I think you can't make a left turn hand because of the
All I'm
It's a
saying
very
is
sharp angle.
because it's so slanted.
Right.
Excuse me. He said it's restricted, but there's no evidence that
Right.
it's on the street.
I think it's just the way.
It's slanty, but you would think that there would be no left turn. Just saying.
So
Right.
while the geometry leads itself that way, I've been told that it's on the books. What's on the books isn't always what's on the street. I understand, but I believe there's a turn restriction currently, and I defer to the
Most
plan.
places, of course, even if you look at the development that's across the street from the car wash on Bloomfield Avenue,
Yes.
There's no left-hand,
There-
normally there's no left-hand turn
That's-
at the place where you can turn, there is a sign. But in this case, there's no sign, that's all I'm saying. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, I
a
don't-
lot of times it's only there where it's at an intersection. Where it occurs in the middle of the block, most of the time you don't see a sign. And that's why I say you look at the example on Bloomfield Avenue right around the corner. You're not supposed to make a left turn into that first entrance, but there's nothing that indicates that on Bloomfield Avenue other than the shape of the entrance.
Right.
And
You
people,
can't get in.
violate it all the time. but,
Yeah.
But
I was going to say that a lot of people don't, I mean, we all know from when we took the test to get our license, you're not supposed to cross double solid yellow lines. So I think that's one indicator that you can't make that left.
do we have any other questions?
So just to clarify, are we going with that recommendation to withdraw? or
Oh,
to
I-
recommend-
Well,
I-
we haven't gotten to that
Oh,
point.
okay.
I just asked if there were any more questions.
I did have one other question. So just so I understand and anticipating, if this resolution was adopted, then going northbound on Grove, would people, do you know currently if you're able to make a U-turn at Glen Ridge? Because that's what
I
people,
Correct, you are not. I would have to double check that, but I don't think you're allowed to make a U-turn in the middle of that intersection.
I would hope not, given the configuration of the intersection.
Yeah.
But I know I've seen many people do odd maneuvers
What we
at that
see isn't
intersection.
necessarily
So,
legal.
yeah, but my only piece is with the recommendation that we have, or that we adopt for this. Not that we take it into consideration, but just wanted to get your understanding of whether that's what people may do if you restricted the left turn.
Yeah, that would not be my anticipated move, or if you're asking how I think people would go, they'd have to plan in advance, like we were saying a moment ago, and turn early, go the other way around the block.
Right. And the other piece, and Janice, you may know this, with the plans on Bloomfield, do we know for sure if there will be a striped left turn so that you can
Yes.
go in? So that will occur.
Yes, I've looked at the plans. There'll be a left turn signal both on Bloomfield Avenue and on Grove and Elm. So there'll be separate left turn signals and what do you call them? Left turn,
Opposing lefts?
I guess. Yeah, so it'll clear the left turns. Phasing, I guess. There's
Sure.
a left turn phase for
It would
each.
be a leading left turn phase on opposing
Right.
lane configuration.
Both, and on both, so that'll clear out the left turns.
Right, right. And so if you're on Bloomfield and you're going east, you'll be able to make the turn up into the west parcel parking lot. Okay, so that will, I was just concerned that people would ultimately, because you also can't go in through Glenridge, so you'd end up looping until you turn the other direction. But, okay, if we have the one left, at least that would help, and hopefully we can still retain this left as well.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense, and thank you for the report.
Oh, sure, glad to do it.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
So we have to make a recommendation to the council. And I would propose that we advance the recommendation of NV5 to the council on the basis that it makes sense to wait until the intersection and the construction on both sides of Grove is completed, and then evaluated at that time to see how traffic is actually moving and what the issues might be.
So I have a question. Is it anticipated that the traffic light at this intersection of Bloomfield Avenue and Grove will be done anytime soon, or is that kind of, do we know when that will be done, at the same time that the project is completed, or is it something, I know it's a separate, isn't it a separate transaction, so to speak?
The county has funding. They anticipate that within the next 2 years, they're going to redo all of the signals along Bloomfield Avenue, and this will be one of them.
So we don't really know.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
There's no guarantee
Yeah.
that it'll be built before. It could be
Right.
before, it could be after. Again, and that's again something at the time. You know, when the buildings are in and you have the potential for traffic actually moving in those directions, that it's that can be taken into account at that time too. So that's what I would move.
Okay, so you're making a motion?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Okay.
All right. We do have one application that I'll note on that is being carried to our April 8th meeting. So if there's anybody here for that, and that's regarding the Bellaire House Condo Association. But next one on our list for this evening is the Celine Choice 5 Pierpont Drive application. So please come forward. And you can have a seat at the table. Just make sure your microphones are on. There should be a little green light on each of the bases that's on so that they can pick you up.
Press the button, yeah, and the green light should go. There
Oh.
you go.
Okay, great.
Can we get your names for the record, please?
My name is Celine Choice, and I live at 5 Pierpont Drive in Montclair, New Jersey.
Sir,
My name is Wally Choice.
same address?
I currently live at 218 Bloomfield Avenue in Montclair.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
We got to swear them in.
Yeah.
Can you both raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm any testimony you will give before this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Tell us why you're here.
We're here today because I live at 5 Pierpont Drive, and my husband and I lived there for over 25 years together, but unfortunately my husband passed in September, so now I live there alone. And I have asked my son and daughter-in-law and grandson to come and live with me. And for them to do that, we would like to make a mother suite on the house so that we can live together but still have independent lodging. And what we're asking to do is to add the suite to the garage, to the existing garage, and it will not change the design, the configuration of the house. It would just have the living quarters in the garage for me and on the ground level, because at this stage all of the bedrooms in the house are on the 3rd floor, and it is difficult on the 2nd floor, and it is difficult for me going up and down the stairs, and I would like to have it on the ground level where I can access it easily and stay in my home for many years to come, hopefully.
Okay. So the first question that comes to my mind is, with your son and his family moving in, how many vehicles do you expect are going to be parking on the property?
3.
3. And with respect to your driveway, is there adequate room for 3 vehicles to park in that driveway?
There is room for 2 vehicles on the present driveway, but there is space on the side of the house for additional driveway.
Okay. So, and part of the plan includes expanding the driveway?
Yes, it does.
Okay. We have any other questions that the board would like to ask? I think that's probably the easiest way to proceed in this case. Pretty straightforward.
So I guess the driveway that you're expanding the driveway to have another spot, right? In front of the house, or
Well-
would you be going to the side?
Well, the front driveway would be expanded,
That
kind
has-
of like the width of one space, but it is going to connect to a driveway that will go alongside of the house and have 2 additional spaces beyond the front.
So you'd have 4 spaces altogether?
We would have, well,
Stacked, 2 stacked?
There could be 5 spaces
Oh.
altogether, because there would be 2 on the side of the house.
Yep.
And then with the expansion, there would be 3 in the
Yeah.
front.
So you're going to blacktop all, I mean, I drove by your house, I think it's grass at the moment and some trees.
Right, it's grass to the...
To the right.
To the eastern, right,
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
eastern side. That would be cemented to conform with the other
Mhm.
area in the front, but more than likely we would blacktop from the side of
going
the
back.
house back, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You know, I didn't include in the package, in fact, I have, we pass these around, but we have a before and after Photoshop, so of what it would look like. There's not much of a significant difference. I don't think I have one for everybody, but at least you can
All right.
get a sense.
And we'll mark this into evidence?
How many pictures is it? Just one? Or?
It's just one. Those are multiple
Or
copies.
it's like a before and after.
Okay,
before and
so
after
it's a 2 photo pack sheet, mark it A1 with today's date.
Actually, I pre-marked the exhibits.
He said this was a separate.
I know.
Oh, we did?
Well, I haven't read them into the record.
So, but this would be, the last exhibit you have marked is?
This would be A9.
Okay. So, and we'll clean that up.
So can I
In a
ask
minute.
another question, since you gave this, right? So where does your property end, looking at this? Is it at the end of the driveway?
It is at the end of the
So
driveway,
this is
yeah.
kind of right, this is your neighbor's, the green space?
Yes.
Okay. Did you talk to your neighbor about this? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Thumbs up? Good. Okay.
This answers the question.
Oh, we got enough.
Yeah, there is enough.
Do we have,
That's enough.
Yeah.
Janice needs one.
That will continue across.
So once again, looking at the picture, so right now you have a garage door, and I guess you're changing that
Right.
to have a front door?
There will be a door and 2 windows.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, and the material will be the same stained wood that
Yeah.
the rest of the house is, outside of the door and the windows.
Is there any zoning code issue for putting pervious surface, is that the right word, up to the property line or to the fence line there? Is there any issue?
Well, as long as it's 1 foot off the property line.
That's what I
I think
wanted.
you have a foot.
Mhm.
You've got
Yes.
more than enough room, so as long as it's a foot off the property line, it meets our code. And we don't have an impervious surface maximum. So-
Okay.
The survey that they submitted shows that there's a 4-foot setback from the pavement limit, it looks like.
So all codes are met as it relates to this in terms of placement of the stone and location of the car, the new location of the cars?
Yeah.
And it appears to comply with all of the code requirements for creation of the suite itself, as you identified in the planning memo. So I would make a motion to accept this based on the full compliance with the appropriate codes and ordinance requirements for this particular zoning code modification, 347-8, additional units for parents as conditional use.
Just to clarify, that you understand that you have to enter into a written agreement with the township? And don't we have to open this up to the public?
Yes.
We should,
Okay.
yes.
We do.
But just along those lines, you're going to have to enter into a written agreement with the township, which we've done before. And that agreement will have to be filed with the county as part of your deed, because if you ever decide to no longer use it for a parent, then it has to be removed. Okay? So those would be the conditions on the approval.
Correct.
So,
They also have to renew certificate of occupancy for it every
Every year.
year.
Yep.
So my motion appears with premature prior to public comment. I'll hold that and then bring it up after.
Well, why don't you, we'll just put it on hold for the moment.
That's what I'm saying.
Put it on hold for the moment. Is there anybody in the public who would like to comment on this application? I mean, I guess it's kind of clear what the board intends to, would like to do, but Mr. Scott?
You're giving comments or questions right now? Okay.
Comment.
So I'm going to need to swear you in, though.
We don't usually
You don't
swear
swear in for comment?
comments,
Okay.
no.
Williams, 23 Cedar Avenue. I'm also the co-chair of the Montclair Housing Commission. And this seems to be in its perfect timing, because we have been looking at the options for respecting very much this choice of a senior community to create a dwelling unit. And this seems to be a perfect application to shine some visibility on the need. Excuse me, to shine some visibility on the need of auxiliary dwelling units within the township for our senior population. So from a Housing Commission standpoint, we definitely support this, and good luck.
Thank you. Now, I just, in all honesty, you do have a fairly large tree on your property. It's on the neighbor's property. Oh, yeah, okay.
You mean to the right hand side of the building?
Yes.
No, that's in the it's on the other side of the property line.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Especially with Vice Chair Broderick not here to speak for, so thank you.
The tree.
Renee Baskerville, member of the Pierpont Drive community area. I'm standing in support of this. I'm the neighbor to the immediate right of the property. And so I'm just here also to say how excited we are that hopefully it sounds as though you guys are excited about this too, that we'll be able to keep Mrs. Choice in our neighborhood. I think I'm the oldest residing neighbor in the neighborhood, even before Mrs. Choice moved in. But I think this also is it's a wonderful opportunity for us to provide ways for people to remain in the community and for their families to stay here. So I'm just standing in support of this. Thank you.
Ms. Baskerville, can I just get your postal address? I assume it's Pierpont Drive
Post
also.
Office Box 141 in Montclair, New Jersey.
What is their property address? Or?
Yes, it is. I'll write it down over here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Understand.
All right. Anybody else would like to comment? All right. Well, we have a motion on the floor. I don't think we need any further discussion. Do we have a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
All right. Well, good luck
Good luck.
with your application, and we wish you well.
Thank you. But my question is, at what point are we able to submit to the construction department? Are we, like, at this point, can I go tomorrow for construction permit?
My office is going to prepare a resolution. We're also going to need to have the agreement with the township prepared, and that's got to be finalized before the work can start. Is that right, Janice? Is that typically how you do it?
Yes. You can file it, but it won't be released from the zoning office, from my office, until we've got all these pre-approvals done.
And the resolution, they have to wait until we actually sign the resolution.
Right.
So, about 2 weeks.
But we could submit, and they would have it waiting for you.
Right. Everything that you need to do, you can submit.
Okay.
And then it's just a matter of the other things coming in from the town side. Okay?
Just so you know,
The construction office first sends something like this over to the zoning officer. So he may not be able to act because of the points that were raised here. You might have to finesse to get them to keep it in the queue for construction, and once these other elements come back, so you might have to do a little dance with them, okay?
All right.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any committee reports?
The zoning subcommittee did meet. We're working on an ordinance to address rooftop equipment and issues on parking in the C1 zone district.
I wonder why.
So, as it cycles.
No.
I'm just.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about the issue about the rooftop equipment on the hotel. You asked why are we trying to further regulate rooftop equipment? So we're trying to, right now, we don't have any regulations in our zoning ordinance for rooftop equipment. It's just in the site plan, so we're coming up with additional requirements to make sure that everybody's on board and we can have an ordinance that we can point to.
Clarification purposes.
Yeah. So that's why I got your email today, and I think we're going to, the zoning subcommittee is going to further refine those recommendations and send them to you guys for additional comments.
It's come up lately here and there. So
yeah. Okay.
All right.
Plus the other subcommittee.
Excuse me.
We have our other subcommittee met too since February. The Haynes redevelopment. I mean, what happened with that? The report to the council on that.
It's still being considered and evaluated by the council. No action has been taken.
Yeah.
Don't they have to respond to us within 45 days?
They don't have to respond to us. They have to move their proceeding along, but they asked us for an opinion. And so we render our opinion, and then they do what they're going to do.
But I thought they had to respond to our recommendations, like
Well,
we
they have
did.
to, whatever action that
Yeah.
they take.
They have
has
to.
When
to-
it- when
if
they
they're
do-
gon-
When they do the second reading. Yeah.
And if they're going to do something contrary to what we recommend,
Yeah.
then they have to
say
address
why.
it.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
And there's voting requirements.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
So
All
they're,
right.
they're considering your comments, they're considering the redevelopment plan. Right now, it's being evaluated by the Economic Development Committee. So, they haven't forgotten it, but,
Since the last meeting, that's
Yeah.
why I just was wondering what happened.
right.
Can I ask you a question? What is the economic development? What is that?
It's a,
Who are they?
Who are they?
There's one. Like secretly?
Here's one.
Well, do you have public meetings?
Councilwoman Baskerville.
Do you have public meetings?
Councilman
No,
Spiller.
hush.
It's
In the
like-
garage by your house.
you know how we have, yeah.
Tony, it's like a subcommittee of our board.
I know, just like we have subcommittees to address specific issues, so does the council, and that's how they get their work done.
Okay.
So, okay.
All right. And we have, we've got bills?
I got an email from Keith. He raised an issue or a question about the bill from Dennis Galvin's office, the one for $173. So
Yeah.
I'm going to pull that one.
Whatever Keith said.
Yeah. Everything else he was okay with.
Okay.
And based on that, everything that Keith is okay with, I move that we okay.
That's right.
There's a second.
Second.
I second it, Steve, second.
It's okay with Keith.
It's okay with
On the
me.
bills,
It's okay with
to
me.
pay our bills. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
It's a good one. I think we've actually been, once or twice we were shorter, but this is
Yeah.
on the books as close to the top, so thank you.
Right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You can leave here while you're still mentally alert.
Right.
Waiting on dinner.
Dinner.
My meeting tomorrow night
Yes.
is this short.
Glazed over eyes.
Right, right.